to go live if we're ready. So let it be written, so let it be done. This is Tabletop Terrors, and you're watching some live Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition in Dragongrin. This is a living campaign, which means that these players are going to affect what happens in the world of Grinn. We are from House Grimwall. And so everyone is part of a Crucian house in one way or another, whether they are actual members, whether they are in servitude, but they're low level, they're new recruits, and this is the first of many sessions that we're going to run. And so, guys, what I'll do is just give you sort of a brief introduction. And then if you want to, through play, introduce yourself, introduce your characters, anything like that, remember, you are all of the same house. That doesn't necessarily mean you all know each other very personally, but there's a general level of trust. You kind of understand. The Prismikar of Algamon is the pinnacle of arcane universities in the world. But especially in Grinn, it's got a reputation. So aside from being founded by one of the most brilliant Zarfin to ever live, it also is known for having this sort of mystique about it. Like, no one knows what's a rumor and no one knows what's fact, and they don't just let people wander in there. And so it's said that there's tons of Arcans and Valens in there. It's said that there are creatures and artifacts and things beyond comprehension for the study, for the students. And so highly, highly competitive admissions. You have to be connected. You have to have a ton of money. And essentially, they don't say it outright sometimes, but you kind of have to be a Crucian. There are very rare occasions where, maybe even the Crucible would have to say so. So this is a place it's very likely none of you have ever been to. And if you have, you've maybe loitered around it on the steps, rather than having gone inside. It's pretty well guarded, and they tend to not even let anyone who doesn't attend there inside the lobby. So, of course, you arrive at the docks. They don't want you up front. They don't want to see your type on the steps. And as you approach, they have you go around back, and while you don't properly approach by boat, you do go down, side passages, and they keep you way out of sight. And as you sort of crest around this large building, you just see scores of boats and people at work, things being loaded onto boats, things being loaded off of boats. And you're supposed to find a contact there named Bath. And that's all you know.
Right, so we're coming up to these docks. What's it like around us? Is the water choppy? Is it smooth? Is it eerily quiet?
Yeah, that's a great question. I imagine it's midday, and I imagine it's sort of the slosh of medium calm waters. This is where they're loading and unloading. So you hear the lap of the waves, the occasional splash. But it's, I think what would be most eerie, not eerie, just maybe what you're unaccustomed to, is it doesn't seem like anyone's talking, not even small talk, almost like they're not allowed. And you can kind of see that the people working the docks don't appear to be Crucian.
So I imagine as part of this. We've at least met each other before. Hard to be sent on a group mission if you don't know who the group is.
Yeah, I would imagine you've done introductions and general, especially on the journey over,
And so I think if we're all already together, or if we're not, I'd gather everyone together, and I might give sort of a side eye, and given that I'm the only dwarf in the party, it'd be more of a diagonally upwards eye. maybe to Keel's character, to Ideos. Just sort of a wary, unknowing look.
Yeah, Ideos kind of nods knowingly back at you. Be still, Romal.
And sort of an uncomfortable shifting, and it's accompanied by this clanking of wood on wood, as the two sort of walking crutches sort of shift from side to side around me as I sort of wobble a little bit, one leg missing on my right. And I start to, if everyone thinks it's a good idea, just generally advance. If this is the docks, if this is where people are working, I doubt we'd be meeting a contact here. And so perhaps moving inward towards, buildings, alleyways, nooks and crannies where there's, quiet places to meet.
As Ramal moves to exit to disembark, I guess, off the vessel and onto the dock, Ideos sweeps ahead of him. His cloak sort of swooshing as he goes past, and he sort of deftly steps up onto the dock and reaches down an arm to help first Romal up, and then holds it out to in offering to whoever else who steps up next. And just as we inject little bits of our character introductions into this scene as well, Ideos stands up there. He's a proud, tall, militaristic human man, dressed in sort of these elaborate and elven-esque armor and clothing. He's clearly a man from the Talasar culture, from Talas, the life tree, which floats above the ground, the earth of Dragongrin proper. That's who's standing up there, reaching an arm down, with a sort of stoic kind of face, but that he is serious about the business that we're here on. But he's relatively kindly, I guess, stern but kindly. and he has a sort of little smirk as who approaches to reach out to his arm.
Andramus would grab his arm, and as he looks at him, you will see this 6 foot tall elf with a light brown hair. He has light yellow pupils, but you do notice that his irises are all black. And he has a cloak that it looks like it's been through hell. It's all patched up, and it has, in certain parts, it has leaves because he couldn't find any more thread. And he would just look at you and do we have any idea where this contact is? I'd rather not be here too long.
Well, he says as he sort of as we clasp arms, and he helps you take the step upward onto the dock. Not that you need it, he thinks to himself, but he's it's more of a gesture. They said his name was Bath, and he sort of looks around with a bit of a screws up his nose, wrinkles his nose a little bit. Looks like most folk here need one.
He would definitely laugh at that, and then once you let go of your hand, he would put his hood part back on, and notice that one of the like laborers is looking at him, and he would just like give him like a really awkward smile. Like you can tell this guy is not around people much, and then he just take off his staff, and he has like an elderly man walking just to keep attention off of him.
And as the last man comes up, you notice he's wearing armor that looks different than anybody else's. It's very, very ornate and very well made. And it's if you've or been around or know any, it's very clearly Granot Thane chainmail. And as he approaches up to where Adeus is, he sort of just puts his foot up on the dock and pulls himself up. He doesn't take your hand, and he says, "Well, let's just get this job done." And he sort of puts one hand on his hip where his blade is sheathed, and sort of steps forward and keeps going.
Yeah, Idaeus similarly sort of nods and turns aside so that you can brush past him. And we see that he also has his hand on the pommel of his sword at his hip, not grasping it, but just sort of resting there. There's clearly some tension between these two.
Yeah, and for anyone who's watching, about 20 years ago, there was a war in which evil actually won. And the Talisar and the Granok Thane found themselves on opposite sides in that war. And so while things are fairly civil now, there are a lot of grudges, especially with the lifespan of the elves. And, so even though they are working together here at House Grimwall, this Crucian house that has commissioned them, it's tough. They are maybe working together, but they might not like it. Like you say, there might be a little tension. Maybe it's a trust issue, but I love it. And as you sort of make your way around, you see that this bustling dock has a chaotic rhythm to it. And so the salted air of the shattered seas, you can just smell that. You don't feel any wind because of Grinn existing a little outside of time. That feels weird. I don't know if you'll get used to that, but you're able to find Bath, tall, bearded man, also in Granok Thane chainmail, but of a much older make. He's on in years, but competent, and is barking orders to various people on the dock. Get that over here. Come on, bring that here. All right, you, come on. You're about 20 minutes behind. Let's do this. And so he's doing his thing. You could see him as sort of directing the docks at the moment. At least that's what it seems to be.
So I imagine he's directing, he's managing, he's supervising, and so I imagine he's in quite a central location. And so it doesn't escape me, and it probably doesn't escape anyone else, that we are very central. Turn your head and you'll see us. We have to be very, not careful, but just a little bit cautious. Be no weapons drawn, there can be no harsh words, or we'd be in the sea before we knew. And so, with perhaps a oddly regular rhythm, a rehearsed rhythm, Rommel steps forward, crutches hitting the wood of the dock, maybe a creaky plank every now and then, sort of a thump, thump. He's a squat dwarven man, and right now, he looks like someone's taken a really, really grimy penny and tried to shine it up, and it has not worked in the slightest. He looks Crucian if a Crucian were in a prison cell for like 10 years. He walks with these two crutches that appear to be two halves of the same, and he steps forward, and with a fierce gaze, he looks up at Bath. And he thinks back, would there be any sort of common like hand sign or phrase or sort of shake to communicate, hey, here's what we're here for, like here's who we are?
Yeah. So my thought would be, and I'm open ideas, my thought would be if you go up and say house words, it's assumed that you are with that house. And then because if someone was walking around saying Crucian house words and weren't part of that house, they'd probably find themselves with their tongue cut out pretty fast. So that's not something you'd lightly say, like how in our world you can absolutely get in a lot of trouble if you say you're with the police and you're not. So I would say it's an offensible crime. And so I think maybe if you just said the house words, and then I would imagine that because you're not in Crucian garb that looks like it's current and clean, I imagine that all of you have to carry some sort of talisman, trinket, something kind of hefty like a badge that has the double-headed wolf on it, that you'd have to kind of show to prove, and it would be all of you, so that you couldn't just sneak someone around with you. So in some cases, you're going to have to show this identification. So it would probably be say house words and then sort of show your badge,
And so what I think I might do is, my background is in smithing, and I have just a trinket from a scholar's pack that includes a book of lore. And so what I think it might be is a small, loosely bound, maybe not quite a letter, maybe like a parcel of papers of things that I've been assigned to repair or smith for House Grimwall. And it's stamped with a heavy wax seal with the double-headed Grimwall wolf. And so I might sort of reach into my thick leathers that look almost like I should be in a smith shop at the moment, and pull out sort of this weathered parcel with this seal, hold it in one hand, and I'd look up to him. I'd say, you, so far as I know, you're the Bath. And as well as I know, death is for tomorrow.
And he kind of pauses for a second because he was in the middle of something, but he can't ignore the approach, the rhythmic approach that you took, and then the confidence with which you pulled all this out right in front of him, and he's just like, oh, okay, yeah. You're the folks from Grimwall. Perfect. Yeah, we could use you. Let's step over here. And he kind of walks toward an area that is, it's definitely still part of the docks, and there's still some boats there, but you notice that no one else is over there doing anything with those ships. So it's, if everything was happening on one side, these ships seem to be cordoned off on the other side of the docks, and maybe even behind some row and boathouses. And if you were to follow him, he'll point you to this ship, and he'll say, I know it's not glorious work, but Grimwall owes us a favor, and so here it is. And he hands you, Rommel, maybe he places it on top of your parcel or stashes it. He goes, here's the manifest. All of that needs to go in there. And he basically tells you that your mission is to unload the boat.
So I'd gently take this manifest. And yeah, just stash it on top of the papers that I pulled out. And I'd look back up to him and I'd give him a curt nod. And I'd say, what would I say? Very well. Get back to your work.
And then he looks to all of you, and he just kind of like snaps to, like, here's the thing. You notice that none of them, and he kind of nods over to all the other workers, who include any type of person you can imagine from any culture, just working the docks, and take a look at that manifest. We need people we could trust. And even at a glance, if any of you were to glance at the manifest, some of the items on there are just big ticket. Like, you see words like arcane, valen. You see, like, maybe Latin names of creatures and things like this. So he's like, these are rare exports. We can't just have the dock workers with their fingers in here. We will check the manifest, but I don't think I have to tell you that, and I don't think that you would disgrace House Grimwall. And you at least have our trust for now. And if anyone wanted to say anything to him, they could. But if not, he would do as Rommel said and go back to his work.
Do you happen to have some tools we could use? Wheelbarrows, things like that.
Yeah, there. And he points to like a boathouse, and he tells you there's general moving equipment, probably some canvas blankets, some wheelbarrows, maybe even a small wagon. So it's definitely going to be some grunt work, but it's not like hard labor. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
And so, the first day passes, and you're able to sleep in moderate accommodations in one of the boathouses. It's not dingy, but it's not great. It smells a little bit, but not of anything other than just the ocean air and maybe a little musty. And this continues for a few days. There's a lot on these ships. I want to give all of you an opportunity to tell me something that you were really fascinated with, or something strange or unique, or something on the ship as you were loading it from the ship to the storage unit in the Prismacar of Algamon. What's something or some things that you saw that you never thought you would in Dragongrin, or that even caught your eye?
I have one. Idaios can't stop thinking about it, actually, and it took all four of us, I think, to move this one. It was basically a massive crate. Actually, I think maybe it was like in just an open-topped container that we had to like transfer from one container into another, and it looked like it was just a big old like bucket or big old like vat of dirt. But as we sort of started getting grubby and getting into it, the dirt sort of started getting more clumped together and harder, and sort of seemed like it had these bits of like rust, veins of rust through it. And as we sort of got to the center, as maybe three of us are in there, like wiping sweat and dirt from our brows. And we sort of, in the background of the shot, we see Rommel like looking over the manifest. And as we sort of uncover it, it cuts back to Rommel sort of, and with a close up on the manifest, dragon egg. Like a petrified dragon egg, question mark. Maybe it says it like that on the manifest. And so that's just like,
oh, I love that so much.
The talk of the shop, right?
Oh, I love it. That's fantastic. Oh wow.
Oh,
yeah.
you're muted, Tim.
I sure am. I said, I love that. That's fantastic.
Sorry, maybe I should have saved that one for last.
No. I honestly think that that's kind of the nature of unloading this ship, is that they packed it efficiently, and so you're gonna find things that probably seem mundane to you, and maybe it's something that the Crucible just has, you know, some sort of a hot heat signature for. It could be as simple as a set of silverware. But that thing, you don't know why, you don't know what it is, what, you know. So I think that that's actually kind of cool, that next to the petrified dragon egg could be something that seems extremely mundane or not. Yeah, I love it.
I've got one. If we want to go, you did say all of us, right? I don't want.
Yeah, anyone who wants to tell me something awesome that they found while you were unloading this boat of wonders into the Prismacar of Algamon. I just want you to have at and have fun if you want to.
So what I think it is, it's sort of a staged job. There are perhaps single large objects that are being hauled, but they're also sort of large, tightly packed, just transports of resources. And so there's this large crate that we sort of pop the top off of, just to make sure that we can, you know, actually not actually transport, make sure that it's actually what's supposed to be on the manifest.
Got it. Smart.
And it's listed as just rations. And I think we pop it open, and it looks like potted, salted meat. Meat that has been just absolutely drenched in salt, packed in like solid salt, and it'd need to be boiled like maybe 3 or 4 times to be edible again, but it's never gonna go off. And we're just like, oh yeah, salted meat. And so I think what happens is, as the rest of the party is preoccupied with perhaps moving larger objects, Rommel starts with his 2 crutches sort of combined back together into a staff. He channels sort of a magical aura, and he focuses, and he tries, and he conjures an ethereal hand, and he starts one by one moving these potted pieces of meat out onto the docks to save the trouble of moving them all at once. And the odd thing, he's still new to all this, and he falters for a moment. Maybe there's a wave that hits the ship particularly hard, and he wobbles, and the hand sort of flickers out for a moment, and a pot falls and cracks, and salt sprays over the deck of the ship. In the center, there's not meat, but a sizable chunk of Titan copper. And so we do our best to hide this chunk in amongst the rest of the non-shattered pots and just go about our business.
So the question is, because that was brilliant. Like, that was absolutely brilliant. Take a point of inspiration for that. Actually, both of you. So the question is, just for 100% clarity outside of the narrative, are you taking the copper chunk for yourself, or are you putting it back in with the salted meat?
Oh.
There's no wrong answer, and I just want you to know, as a DM, I definitely wouldn't like punish you for taking it, but there's absolutely a chance that it could be discovered if that were to come up. So I'm not I'm not saying like, if you take it, they're gonna find you right now and string you up. Like, that's D&D, man. You could steal that thing and get away with it, or you could steal that thing and not get away with it.
Yeah.
Oh, this is really rough as well, because like my entire thing is that I run a smith shop. I'm struggling by a chunk of Titan copper could be my ticket to like money for like months. Oh.
So
I think
I was gonna say,
sorry,
if you don't have an answer at the moment, are you the only one that saw this?
no, I think it's more interesting if everyone saw.
Okay, because I was gonna say, if you don't have an answer at the moment, you'd know exactly where it was. And we're kind of like, I thought it would be fun to abstract several days going by so that you feel like you're doing this slog of a task of unloading boats. So before we jump to the next portion that I have planned, we could say that a couple more days went by if you want to give some time to. But if you know, go for it. Or if you want to try to take it without other people watching later, you could also do that in the meta.
Can I make one suggestion?
Absolutely.
Just interject myself in there.
Please.
Why don't we make it Schrodinger's Titan Copper and just cut and skip ahead, and then it could, did he take it or not? You know what I mean?
That's brilliant. That's
What do
brilliant.
you think about that, Matt? Because then if it becomes cool later that you did, then you can, you know what I mean?
I like that actually. Yeah, let's go with that.
That's really great. Keel, I am definitely going to add that to my DM toolbox on purpose because I've never done it quite so open-ended like that. Like, hey, let's cut away on purpose. I've done it.
I don't think I have either. So
that's great. No, man, that's great. I love it. Schrodinger's Titan Copper needs to be. We need to co-author an article on that because, yeah, that's just brilliant. I've done it as a DM where I cut away, but I know. I've never cut away where a player choice was abstracted. So anyway, that's really cool.
And the ball is in Matthew's court, really.
Exactly.
Well, so, yeah.
It's brilliant, man. That's really cool. So, awesome. So yeah, so then it cuts away and we'll say, again, you continue a day or two, you continue on. So, Grovak or Andromas, what is something unique and wondrous that you see or mundane?
Well, Andromas, while he's taking this wheelbarrow up the path to go into the boat, he lets it go for a moment. He's just looking at this boat, and him being a druid, he's a little ticked off that they're using wood from, the wilds to build his ships, and to him, that don't mean anything. So he walks in, and he starts touching the wood, and then he gets intrigued with the architecture of it, like, it's fascinating. He's just passing his hand along, going into rooms, and then he finds this room where it's like a really small room with a table in there. He's looking around, and then he feels like a gust of wind coming out of somewhere, and he starts touching, the wall, and okay, this is a bit odd. This is not wood; it's like metal or something. So he's messing with it, and at one point he pushes into a piece of the wood, and it just opens up, and it's this treasury room, and it has like ancient armor, I would imagine. It's like glowing, extremely sharp, like it looks like it's brand new. And he's really intrigued to go in there, but then he hears somebody approaching. So he freaks out and closes it, puts his hood back on, slowly starts walking out of the room, and when the person looks at him, he just looks away and goes back to his wheelbarrow.
That's fantastic. Yeah, and that's a sight that maybe a handful of non-Crucian would ever have opportunity to see.
Yeah, he was just mainly fascinated because his whole life he lived in the woods, and to him a ship is useless, So
that's a really good point. Oh wow, I love that. That's fantastic. How about you, Grovak? Is there anything you want to narrate?
Grovak, of course, growing up as a Grunt thing, he spent a lot of time around the market, traveling as a sort of a guard for them before he came to Grinn, and he's seen a fair share of things come throughout the market. One thing he was always excited to see kind of pass hands through the market were little little trinkets of the Arkans, little pieces of things that were found and traded through the market. And so as they're unloading boxes, and he gets to this decently sized crate and grabs the crowbar and pops the top so that they can check it against the manifest. And he's just taken aback as this fully intact arcane, this huge, fully intact arcane, is in this crate. And it just, he's never seen one this big or this complete. And it just, he sort of pulls Rommel to him. He doesn't like call out, because they've been kind of calling out stuff. Is this on the manifest or whatever? And
right.
So he calls him over and he says, "Is that on the list?" And
Sorry.
Yeah, you go ahead.
So I imagine you've sort of grabbed me by the shoulder or the arm, and I was preoccupied with something else. Maybe Adios or Andromus called out something, and I was sort of absentmindedly, a quill pen. Oh yes, it's taken care of. Where's that one on the list? Yeah. And you pull me over, and I sort of stumble. I have to sort of, because I was sort of resting on one of my crutches, I sort of have to re-grab it, and I sort of spin around and look almost like I'm about to throw a punch. I'm like, what do you? Oh, then that. And you just see this look of combined greed and wonder come over Rommel's eyes, and well then, we've got ourselves a find, don't we? And he looks to you and he says, I'm going to be upfront. Do we steal this? Yes or no?
I don't know that this one would fit in my pocket.
You'd be surprised what Arcans can do. But perhaps this one doesn't shrink. Yes, you're very right. And so I'd, sort of straighten myself back up, and I'd get the manifest, and I'd get the quill pen, and I'd sort of, well, Arcan. Bit of an understatement, but Arcan.
And I'd push the lid of the crate back down and start to, move it.
Yeah, and I feel like because the Arcans in Dragongrin are remains of the Titans, essentially, and so most of the time when you find it, they're just, as you mentioned, little baubles. I feel like this was actually probably a very intact relic. Probably the most complete Arcan you will ever see, and no one will believe you. So and I think leaving the description of what it is, another kind of Schrodinger's Arcan is kind of a cool thing. Maybe we can pull that off the wall, like Chekhov's non-defined gun.
Chekhov's Schrodinger.
Chekhov.
Schrodinger's Chekhov.
Schrodinger's Chekhov. Oh, I love it. So great. Yeah. So, as you continue your duty, you're decently fed. You're roughly taken care of. It's not bad. It's just not great to wake up in the morning thinking you're a big hero and unload a boat, but you're doing the work. And so Bath checks in on you periodically, just making sure things are going well. Checks against the manifest, things like that. he basically just says, "Hey, you've been doing good work. And I don't think it was you. But a couple of things have gone missing. So, here's the thing." And he looks especially at Gravik, as a Granok Thane to a Granok Thane. "I'm going to give you opportunity to find out who it was. And I'm not going to report it until maybe tomorrow. So don't get too crazy, but I think it was someone inside the Prismacar. Probably in this wing, because they couldn't have gotten it out of this building to any of the other main ones. And this, I imagine, is like, there's a storage area, and this storage area is just for one of the huge halls. That happens to be, it probably houses some sort of museum, some sort of experimental facilities, things like that. So, Bath basically tells you, hey, we have security checkpoints throughout these buildings because of all these rare materials. It didn't leave this area. So it's not in the main university. It might not even be in one of the main halls. It's probably still in this storage area until someone can try to get it. So you've earned my trust. Tomorrow at sunup, I have to report it. So, good luck. And then Bath just kind of walks away. Thrain says, "This is like back in 3rd grade. Now, if Tim's binder shows back up on my desk, I won't ask any questions and nobody will be in trouble." Now, to be 100% too, Matt, meta, this was the plot that I had all along. So this is not specific to the Titan Copper. You may have also taken or not taken that, but this was the plot that I had. So something else is missing. I just want to make that explicitly clear. This would be in addition to any theft that you perpetrate.
So what is missing?
No,
Yeah,
Your Honor, I'm just a simple Crucian lawyer.
Yeah.
Yeah, do we know what's missing? Like, has he told us?
So he did not. He did not tell you what's missing.
Right. And so
I mean, you could
think
ask him. You could ask him if he.
I think it's sort of, he's not telling us for a reason. And I'm being sort of, I've been upfront, I've been confident, I've been borderline aggressive.
Right.
But I'm not here to step on toes and say, you're clearly not telling us for a reason. I'm not going to ask you why. And so after a very brief, if you were paying very close attention, you'd notice like a slight change. Maybe my cheeks get a little paler when he mentions the theft. And I'm like, ooh, did one of us do that?
Sure. And that's a valid question. You all wouldn't know. I mean, everyone saw the Titan Copper chunk. So you all knew about it. Yeah. I was going to say, well, real quick, I was going to say, I think it would make sense if I gave you at least a something. So, like, as I was prepping the game, I felt like, oh, no, it'll be a mystery. But I feel like you have to at least have some idea of what you're looking for, or it's impossible to find. Like, I don't know, is it this shoe? Like, so I think that...
Did you steal something?
Yeah, I took this, I put it back. Like, that's a rock from the docks. Like, no. So I think all that the manifest says is the Oracle.
Right. And so I was going to sort of lean into something like that. I was going to ask, not exactly what it is, but maybe something along the lines of, it's a big university. You've got us looking for a needle in 10 haystacks. At least tell us how big is what we're looking for.
And he tells you, he's like, I don't get much of a description with these. I'm going to try to poke around and find out exactly what it is without raising suspicion. Because if I go in and go, hey, just out of curiosity, what's the Oracle? They'll say, why? So I'm going to try to do some poking around myself. But, and then he's kind of looking through, and he's going to try to investigate the way that the ship was packed to see if he can give you a rough size.
I have a question.
Absolutely.
Is this like a historic item or?
So it's unclear. It's unclear what it is, and so he's able to inside of the ship, he's able to kind of assess, like working through the manifest, working through the order that things were loaded on, because I assume that they write it onto the manifest when they when they load the ship is when I imagine they add it to the manifest. So you can kind of reverse engineer. So he looks, and it looks like you can find some sort of evidence that someone else was there. It's circumstantial in terms of, like, it would never prove your innocence, but whether it's and I'll just leave that as, like, generalized so that I don't send you in the wrong direction as players, but, like, you find some sort of evidence that someone else was in the ship, whether it's a piece of clothing, like, that ripped, but it was physical. So, like, a very specific boot print, something like that. I will say that you're able to find that sort of evidence, or he was able to find that sort of evidence, and he kind of points you to it. And he's like, this doesn't look like any of you. But he's also keeping his hands super out of it because he doesn't want it to look like he is a party to some sort of, scheme.
I would definitely like to track that boot print if possible.
Yeah, and Gravok, it appears as though he's telling the truth. Like, legit, you don't get the sense that he's leading you. I mean, maybe he's just a really good liar also. So, does anybody have any ideas of what that evidence might be?
I thought you were going with the shoe print. That's why I had asked if I could follow it.
You could. That's what I'm saying. Well, I thought you meant, could you follow the evidence? Yes, you can follow the evidence. So if it's a boot print, we could go that direction, like a very unique sort of weird boot print, or something like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that one.
And it could be more than one piece of evidence if someone was in there stealing. So it could be a boot print. And does anybody else want to throw out something else?
Some fur.
All right.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm into that. Love it. And so the boot print would definitely be, as I say, unique enough. So, who has any kind of skill that could potentially see what direction or find more of these boot prints? All right, Andromus.
Survival. Track the boot print.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I got a 15.
Okay, so you're able to see that there are some of these distinct patterns, and that this person definitely was on different parts of the dock. But the most fresh, clear versions of this boot print go into the main storage building where you've kind of been loading and unloading things, and you're able to follow it to The large room that you've been putting things in, it has a few different doors, and one of those doors has a distinct set of those boot prints. Another one also has a set of those boot prints. So 2 of the doors out of the 3, you could see that these boots went down.
Okay. I think he would go to Gravak and tell him, I followed this friends to these 2 rooms, but the question is, how do we go in? I imagine we don't want to just accuse everybody or manhandle them.
Who has the best or good hearing? Who would have some decent insight?
I wouldn't say great.
Okay, no, that's totally fine. That's so I would say if you want to give me a roll, and then we can see how great or how not great it is.
Okay. Perception or insight?
I would my thought would be it could be an insight because you're investigating. So this isn't like an off chance. You're like listening for stuff and looking and so that's how I would play it.
Yeah, cool. All right. Let's do it. Ooh, okay. 14.
Okay.
Might not quite be enough.
So you can hear behind the third door conversation. And you can't make out exactly what's being said, but you hear them talking about, there are a few buzzwords. Definitely schemy, definitely hushed tones, but then they start to, and you can't tell how many people, but you can tell that they're definitely starting to argue a little bit because their tones are getting raised, and that's how you can hear it. So what probably started as a bunch of whispers became, things like, they're missing. Are they dead? Who's doing this? Will this ruin our plan? Things like that. So what do y'all want to do? You got 3 doors. One has a conversation happening behind it, and the other 2 have those boot prints.
Idaios would relay that, summarize what they heard there, and sort of make it clear this wasn't an opportunistic thing. It seems there's something premeditated here, and it doesn't seem that it's going according to their plan.
And in a hushed sort of voice, Robble might look to Idaios and say something like, you can walk into any building in the world if you do it with enough confidence. I say we try to trick them. We walk past, talking very, very loudly. We mention what's going on, sort of get their attention. Maybe they try to sneak out and we notice them. And we pulled the old, you there, look, we're looking for this. Something's happened. Do you know anything about it? And of course, they're going to say no. But we'll get a bit of a read on them, get a bit of a look at them. And so I'm sort of proposing that we try to just be like the guy with the clipboard walking around in sort of the back of any warehouse and being like, hey, I'm looking for this. Someone like dropped 10 pallets of whatever. Who the hell did this? And you like look around to see who looks guilty. So we try to get a read on these guys.
You do have the manifest too, so it's not it's not free form. You actually have a piece of evidence of like, hey, I should be doing this. And as you answer and kind of figure out what you're doing, you do hear the door begin to open, but then it stops and they start talking again, but it's someone's about to walk out of that door.
And so I'd be super quick. I'd look to everyone, and it'd just be like one big bushy dwarven eyebrow raised, as in like, do we or do we not? Now's the time.
Dias would nod and sort of peel away so that he's out of sight, and I can roll a stealth check if I need to sort of, I'm imagining he'll go like around the side of the building. So when these people come out and the sort of, Ramal does our little plan here, Idios can be another factor that they didn't necessarily account for if things start getting heated.
Yeah, it's really smart. And so go ahead and roll a stealth roll. Just so you know, the way I'll handle this is, depending on how well you roll isn't whether or not you're hidden, it's going to be what are the consequences. So, like, if you roll and it's a little lower, you'll be hidden, but maybe at an opportune or an inopportune time, something will fall. Something like that. So you successfully hide, but are there any repercussions? What is the roll?
What's the grade? Yeah, so how bad is a 7?
Okay, that's perfect. No, that's perfect. So like that, yeah, I've been really trying to work this into my games, very inspired by Ironsworn, how it's less of a failure and it's more of a consequence kind of thing. So
I love that.
Let's keep that, the like Home Alone bucket hanging above the door. Like, I don't know when that's going to drop, but you're hidden, ... Like, but what happens? Okay, cool.
Gravik,
go ahead.
Gravik's going to be with Rommel, like sort of looking over the manifest with him.
Sure. So
that if when he does address these presumably men, he's going to be ready to try to get a read on them using his insight and stuff to try to.
That's perfect.
Sort of figure it out.
That's great.
That is good.
Andramas is going to hide as well, because I think more than 2 people will be too much if they're trying to go in there and try to get intel.
That's smart. So if you can, also give me the same kind of roll, probably stealth. And if you don't have any sort of skills that would augment that at all, just a straight up dex situation, and then just let me know what you roll.
I rolled a 4.
Okay, so a 7 and a 4. So the so it correct me if any of this is wrong, but
I think he's too tall.
I was just gonna say,
like, try to hide.
2 Talisar, one who is towering, is trying to hide amongst this room, and I imagine it's very like crates with canvas and also boxes and classic. But yeah, you're like.
It is very awkward.
Andromus is hiding behind Idios, who's hiding behind a small pot plant.
It's like one stalk with a flower. No, I think, and again, though, I think you'll still be hidden, as silly as that sounds, but it's because in a room that has so many shapes and objects, people don't see a slight difference in that shape or object unless you botch it and move or sneeze or, So, as you 2 are hidden, the door opens up, and 2 what look like Zarfin step out. One is taller and feminine. The other is younger and masculine. And they're kind of talking, and well, I don't know. And then they see you, and they're like, and the feminine Zarfin seems very logical and calculated, and just says, "What can I do to assist you?"
And so I imagine to anyone observing from the outside, it's remarkably similar to, like, if you've been caught doing something, like if you've been caught goofing off at work, you immediately like sort of snap into position and like make yourself look busy.
Right.
And so I've pulled Grovok sort of a bit closer. We're both looking over this this itinerary, this manifesto, and in a very loud, almost too exaggerated voice, I'm saying, "Oh, it's a right state of affairs. Who could have done this?" And as this feminine Zarfin looks towards us and probably like cuts me off.
Yep.
And I don't like. I play it completely anti to how I've been thus far. I'm not aggressive. I'm not set about my business. I'm just sort of exasperated and unsure what to do. And I'm saying, oh, it's fantastic to see someone. We've been looking for someone who could help for ages. Look, you look trustworthy, is what I'll say. Some things have been misplaced. Right, Grovok? And he'll look to Grovok to sort of play off what I've been doing.
And Gravik would be like, I know I put them over there. I know I put it right there, and it's not there anymore.
Look, I don't want to get too extreme too quickly, but I'm starting to suspect foul play. Yeah, sorry, this is so much to put on someone who's just walked through a door, but you haven't seen anyone suspicious coming through here. You know, someone who's, you know, someone who looks more out of place than me.
And you could see the young assistant looks up at the professor and says, "Dr. Tempest, what? I told you." She says, "Quiet. You're looking for something that's missing."
Yeah, no, just an item off the manifesto here. We've been unloading some cargo, and we've been told something's gone missing. And we came here to verify, and sure be it's gone missing.
And the assistant says, "Ask them about the crew." She says, "I will handle this. Are you with the first crew or the second?"
Out of character, do we know?
So you don't know, but I'll tell you that, yeah, you don't know. Well, let's talk this through logically. You probably were just made aware that there was a crew that came in before you, because you definitely can't be the first crew if you're there now. So I think you would think, oh, so that she would kind of tip you off like there was a crew before you. And I think that you're smart enough, Romal would be smart enough to work that out. And however you want to play that, but you have the knowledge in character that you are not part of the first crew and you are part of the second crew, but however you want to
I think I might try to play it. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, yeah.
I think I might try to play it as sort of bumbling, sort of like, well, I don't want to say that I'm part of the crew. Yeah, I'm a bit new. But I'm trying to be like disarmingly innocent.
Yeah. And it works. It works with the assistant. The assistant finally breaks and says, "The first crew is they left. They're gone. And before he could say the word missing, she says, "They quit and they disappeared. And now something goes missing." I don't know. I think you're all in it together. Well, and she just kind of seems flustered. She doesn't quite know what to do. But she says, and she kind of looks around, and then Keel, what happens as a result of that 7?
So I was going to suggest before that maybe at the time when we sort of knew that tension was there, maybe part of this method is like identifying then something, you know what I mean? Like starting to wind that rubber band so that it's like we're crouched, they're hidden, and yes, we're hidden now, but there's like my cloak one of our cloaks is caught on something, or we're in a position that when we move,
Love it.
it's either when we move something's going to fall, or there's like a vase on the table that's going to fall at some point and we can't necessarily stop it. It's one of those situations.
Yeah.
Maybe it's as simple as the crates that we sort of like accidentally nudged on our way in. Like one of them shifted a bit, the corner, and it's like gradually sort of tipping,
I love it. No, I love it. And I love that it's, so yeah, I would say that. And then as this is going on, and as Gravak and Rommel, so, and Gravak is really selling it too, like making it, the two of you are you have them at least convinced that you're not out of place, for sure. And now they're kind of putting their guard down to you a little bit. And so the doctor says, there have been strange occurrences in the last 2 weeks since the first crew is no longer here. To say whether they're missing or not would be a logical fallacy. We don't know. They are no longer here, and now things are happening. There have also been more Crucian in and out of here than I have seen in a very long time, who are not students, professors, or academics. I'm telling you this because I feel at risk. If you abuse this information, I will make sure that you pay for it. And Keel, and your character's name is Adios? Am I saying
yeah.
Right? So Adios, as you're having to like hold this crate up because it's come off of its bottom. If you were to push it back, it would be fine, but that would make a really loud noise. So you're just holding it up. And as you hold it up, you have the strength to do it. You see, by your feet, some blood that someone tried to hastily clean up. But it's still there. But it's wiped. You can see that there's some streaks, but you know from your many battles what dried blood looks like.
Oh, yeah.
So I think
we both do.
Right, exactly. And I think that would be a cool way to also make it, you can't tell them because you can't move, because you can't. So you have now this information that they could use, but you either have to reveal yourself to share it or hold it in. And I'll leave that up to you.
Yeah, I think Dios gets Andromus's attention, sort of gestures down to the improperly cleaned blood on the floor, and we both know immediately, that there's been foul play here. And let's we were talking about this the other day, Tim. Let's bring this down another notch on the pyramid of abstraction. Like, is Andromus like? Do you imagine, Jose, that you're sort of trapped in as well? Like, if I'm holding this crate, are you able to move freely past me or not? I think you rolled even lower than me, so I feel like you're maybe like trapped in behind me.
It's probably cramped. There's probably a lot of stuff around him, and he just got into this awkward position that if he moves around, he's probably gonna knock a bunch of shit over.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah. You nudged yourself in there, but to nudge yourself out of there would mean like shimmying.
Can
and
we
bumping.
see them in the room or not really?
I would say, I think it's interesting because of what you rolled, that your head is like turned. So you know they're there and you want to look, but you can't. I think Adios, Adios might be able to glance and see peripheral glimpses, but not like see them fully.
Okay, because I was going to say what Andromus is going to do is he's going to tell telepathically to Adias that he wants to tell him, but he can't because they're out of his range.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And I think you'd have a good sense of where they were just from your battle sense of knowing like where the others were standing, where the door was. So you have a general sense, but not a visual. And I think the doctor would say, "You there," and point to Gravik, and say, "I recognize that armor. It's well kept." And she would probably know some obscure fact about when it was made or where it was made or something like that, because she has some sort of collegiate knowledge of the Greenock. And so she would just kind of compliment you on, most people don't know how to keep Greenock Thane armor properly. They treat it like common steel and it ruins it. Well done.
And Gravik would say, thank you. I wear this armor very proudly. It was a gift from my company. As when I got ready to leave, they had given me this new set of armor and wished me luck as I went off to pursue my own career path. And so I appreciate that. It's hard to find someone who appreciates the Greenock thing.
And she would say something to you in trying to remember. Hold on. I have to look it up. I'll be honest, I don't know everything about Dragongrin. I want her to say something to you in the Greenock Thane's language. And I'm trying to think if they have one. Knock. Yeah, knock. Yep. Okay. So she and the description for knock in the book says looks like a whetstone honing steel, or sounds like a whetstone honing steel is what it should say, or legions moving in sync. Oh no, it looks, because it's a military sign language. So she gives you a knock gesture that is like a nicety or a kindness, like some sort of like some sort of respect.
And I would return the symbol and seem gracious for the connection.
And then the assistant speaks up. This is Dr. Brend Tempest, and I am her assistant, Zakiel. There have been strange things happening. And you could tell now that Dr. Tempest seems to trust, especially after that interaction with Gravik and Ramal selling it so well. She says, the problem is we'd have to take you into the East Wing. That's where all of this is occurring. And there are things in the East Wing that the Crucians have told us not to meddle with. So there are things there that I don't even know. But that's where it's happening. I'm not telling you what to do, but I'm telling you the East Wing is through that door, 2 rights and a left. I'm sorry. I just saw Thrain's. I'm sorry. Thrain said, wow, Tim doesn't know everything about Dragongrin. Immersion ruined, literally unplayable. That's great. Please continue.
Do we know where the hidden guys are? Like, do we know exactly where they're hiding?
I'd imagine you would have seen them scurry behind. Yeah, you'd have at least the rough idea of where they were.
Are they behind the professor and the assistant?
So the way I'm imagining it is, there's a door, and then in front of that door is you and them. And if I were standing in the doorway, I'd be looking at you, Ramal, and the professors, or the professor and the assistant. And I imagined that Adios and Andramus would be to the right, behind some crates and clutter.
Because I was thinking that if they're giving us sort of instruction to go somewhere, that this could be an opportunity to sort of reveal where they are in a way that would not seem suspicious.
Yeah, you could do that. They're not quite behind, but they're in the periphery, and maybe their attention is... So they're not literally behind them, but the way that their heads are turned, showing you where the other wing is, they wouldn't be looking.
Okay, so if we receive this information about where we're supposed to go for more information, I would call out, hey, you two, just put those crates down right there and come with us, and call out to where they are. Because I've noticed that this crate is tipped. Like, I could see, like, that does not look right, and something's going to happen if we don't fix this. So that gives them an opportunity to sort of set it down, and if it makes noise, that's okay at this point.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I was starting to think something similar, like just plonk it and go, all right, well, it wasn't in there.
Yeah. I love it. and I think...
But, no, that's perfect.
I was going to say, Keel, if you want to narrate that, because or if you want it to just happen, I think I know how the doctor would probably respond.
Yeah. So just immediately, like within a second or two after Gromok calls that out, the Idios will place the crate back up with a clonk and literally sort of come out like dusting their hands, followed by Andromus.
Yeah, as Andromus is trying to get up and not knock anything over, he probably knocks everything over. And he walks in the room and he's slowly stretching out and like, oh, my back.
And I think that at the point in the conversation that it occurs, and with the level of trust that had been reached, the logic computer brain of Dr. Tempest would sort of just look, and then it's almost like an annoyance. Like, at this point, it doesn't register as threat. It registers as, what are you doing? So anyway, like, she kind of like, oh, you're with them quickly, and now you're interrupting me, and what's your deal? Like, and so I think then that they would, unless there were any other questions or thoughts that you had, they would be on their way, and just, we have things to do, classes to teach, things to, and let me ask this, just so that I'm aware, does anyone have a hard stop at noon? I wouldn't go too much past that, but that'll direct me as to whether or not I'm like, hey, fast forward. I'm okay with going a little over as long as you all are, but I'll be respectful. It won't be too much longer. But okay, cool. And we might end. Maybe, I don't know. You might die. Who knows? So you have the directions to the East Wing. It's up to you what you do.
What I might do is, are these two leaving? Are they?
Yeah,
are they going
I
about
imagine
their...
that they're probably going through either the exit, so which would be the entrance for you, the way you came in, or they might disappear back into the room they were in, or go into one of the other doors. Like, they're just about their business now. Like, if this was a video game, they would go back to their steady animation, and then if you tried to talk to them again, they would give you the same voice line. Yeah. What are you still doing here?
Stop right there, criminal scum! You violated the law.
Yeah.
Right. So this could really backfire on us, but I'm going for it. Did they look like they had sort of not a uniform, but like a style of clothing that makes them fit in? Like, you'd look at them and you'd say, oh, that's one of the professors from the Prismacar, or, oh, that's one of the professor's assistants at the Prismacar University. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think let's go like with our Dragongrin version of a Crucian approved and Zarfin designed lab coat. So I imagine that it's probably egotistically probably looks like something that a Crucian would wear, but not quite good enough. I would even imagine that any Crucian professors would have their own sort of more decorous robes, but then the Zarfin would look akin to more of their personal clothing of their culture, but still whatever the drapey sort of lab coat version would be.
So what I'm thinking is this lab coat, just for a bit of flavor.
Sure.
Sort of, you're dealing with arcans and you're dealing with these energy sources that are most comparable to us to like arcing lightning or sort of bursts of light. And so I think it's almost like a lab coat made out of this shimmering brass sort of metal foil with these little what look like tiny little lightning rods studded every now and then that would catch and safely discharge any sort of bolt of energy from an arcan.
Love that.
And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start walking, and as I'm walking, I'm going to be holding my crutches, and I'm going to move my hands, sort of one holding the crutch. So, you've got a crutch that's sort of like this, and you have a little handle, but the other hand is more awkwardly placed towards the top, and you notice some shifting, some carved runes that are sort of glowing in sequence, and it feels almost like you blink maybe 2 or 3 times and you don't know what happened, where once there was a lump of stone, a lump of dwarven necrofied flesh where my leg is missing. There is now just a fully functioning leg, just a leg that appears to walk with the rest of me. My crutches vanish into the air, and it appears my arms are just swinging by my side as I cast Disguise Self upon myself and keep my general appearance with the addition of the crutches rendered invisible, a leg added, and sort of this Zarfin coat, lab coat draped upon me.
I love that. And I would say there was probably just one of those coats hanging on some sort of a rack around there, and it probably isn't the exact right size for you, but with this spell you have enough core sauce to really pull that off, and so maybe even the coat itself changes in appearance slightly. And if you're the party in tow, now it looks like this Prismikar professor with a group of mercenaries. It's really what it looks like. So you are able to do that, and by doing so, you avoid detection by anyone who's also about their business. There are not a lot of people in here, but they're the ones who are, whether they're cleaning or walking by, they don't really give you much of an eye because you look so convincing. They just figure it's just one of the professors going through the storage, as usual. So one of the things that you might notice is that as you continue to search, I assume you're going to continue to search the East Corridor. Is that what you're doing? Or the East Wing, rather?
Yeah, so that was the plan. I was going to sort of turn to everyone once the disguise was up. But before we, either before we were near anyone or in like a little gap of earshot, maybe we walk past a janitor and like there's enough time for us to discuss. And I'm just sort of quickly saying, look, I'm not sure how long we've got in here before people start asking questions. And more to the point, I'm not sure how long I can keep this spell going. We've got to find a way to search these rooms. I'll lead you where you need to go, but you need to tell me where to lead you.
I think with that, because earlier Andromas had followed the footsteps, so he would tell you it would be easier if two of us went in one room and the other two went in the other at the same time, so that way whoever is in there, they can't run away from us.
That's perfect.
So yeah, just any room that we want to search, I think I would just sort of walk confidently up to and like maybe give the slightest of glances around and just try to open and just sort of systematically search the place. And send these guys in.
Before we go, and Andromus is going to look at Grovok, and he's going to use Doc to tell him to watch his back because he has a bad leg.
That is the thing. I need to stay away physically from other people because disguise self is purely illusion. If anyone sort of touches me at the side, they're going to feel me holding on to my walking stick. If anyone like accidentally steps at the back of my right foot, they're going to step through my right foot because there's no right
There
foot.
is no right foot there. No, that's wonderful. Yeah. So, you know, you're deep in this East Wing, and some of the kinds of things that you would see, I imagine that you have. How long does the spell last?
It's 1 hour, which may or may not be long enough.
Perfect. Right. So I'm thinking. So this is how I'm thinking. And if anybody wants to narrate a cool bit about something, but I imagine that as you go through this, it is a series of storage and research facilities, but it is mostly storage. So there are places where if you don't feel like checking an item out and going through all the red tape of bringing it into one of the main buildings, you can go into one of these side rooms and kind of, you know, do your thing. So as you go through, I imagine that, you know, you might see, you know, perhaps the petrified dragon egg sort of on one of these tables, and they're kind of sifting through it. And so as you kind of open up these doors, it's either a bunch of storage or these strange objects. Maybe there's like a disassembled tome heart on one of them. I like to think that one of them was it's a room. My daughter and I and my wife have been watching these Tutankhamun documentaries, and about how these mundane items to those people are now these literally, you know, invaluable objects to us. I imagine that there's like a room that's specifically just like relics from Vista, which are like, that's the dismembered lord's people, like the Vistians. So I imagine there's those kinds of things, maybe even a set of like Gulvaris sort of items and possessions, like pre-dismembered lord possessions. There's only one room that's guarded. And it's guarded by someone who looks very odd to be guarding a room. They're not Crucian. They're sort of scratching at their neck and seem antsy and sweaty and pale. And they're in their own world. So as you go through and you find these things, you're looking for those footprints, you can't find them. Kill, you're looking for more of that dried blood, you can't find any. But as you approach, this person seems like they don't even care. But it's the final room that you haven't searched yet. And they're kind of just...
So we all see this, the two guards?
Yeah, it's one person, and I wouldn't even call them a guard.
Oh, I want to try something.
Sure.
As we're approaching, in a panicked voice, Andromus is going to telepathically tell him, "There's somebody in the room. Help me, help me."
Okay. So you say that to the guard.
Yeah. But he doesn't see me moving my mouth or anything. It's telepathically.
Ah, gotcha. And so this person kind of looks at you, looks around, and says, "Are you?"
And they'll say, "Okay, help me! Somebody's here."
Are you? Wait, are you? Wait, what? And you can see the person is trying to register what's happening, but they seem glassy-eyed, like they can't.
Then the last thing he's gonna do is screaming his head like he's being murdered.
And so the person's like, so now are you using, explain mechanically what you're using.
1 sec. It's called Mind of the Old Bell. You connect your old bell, gives you the ability to touch the mind of other creatures. You can telepathically speak to any creature you can see within 10 feet of you.
Okay, perfect. So, okay, this is perfect. So as you're in there and you're kind of, they finally register what's going on, but you feel a different presence in the mind that is darker, and it pushes you out. So as you scream, that final scream, it's like the person that whose head you're inside of, they kind of go glassy-eyed, and something like pushes you out, and it's like a strange clanging of metal sound, or the roar of a creature, or the hiss of a snake.
All right. If it's all right with you, I think out of instinct, he's just automatically gonna act, and what he's gonna do is he's gonna use the wood surrounding the ship to like entangle him with wood.
And so he would go, there would be a moment, and as you do this, and as this, like, you know, this area starts to like wrap around him, they have a moment of lucidity, and their eyes become less glassy, and they go, help me. And then it goes back to like, are you here for the tests? I was told, and then they kind of just like pass out.
Yeah, that was a lot more than I was going for with it.
I think by this point, Idios will, like when they sort of pass out, Idios will draw their sword, their Feywall Gladius, the Talisar style short sword, and just sort of be looking around, like alert, looking for, expecting maybe something to, I don't know, just being ready.
He would tell everybody there's some evil entity in here.
And I think in sort of an oddly even tone, perhaps trying not to draw any more attention, Rommel might say, well, we were already on a timer, and from the sound of what you've just told us, we're on an even shorter one now. We search the room and we get out.
Idios would nod and move to like sort of step over the fallen figure and put their hand on the door handle and sort of nod to the group and open it for us all to sort of move in.
And as you enter the room, you see that this is far more lived in than any of the other rooms that you've seen so far. So more people have been in and out of here. There have been piles of scrolls and things put on desks. People work in here. And you see that there are various piles of parchment, books. It's a very cluttered sort of office. There are a lot of surfaces. There are shelves and things like that. Someone is doing work in here. And in the center, there is an object about the size of a basketball on a center table, but it's covered in a canvas. And around, you see markings for evidence of a Crucian house known as House Ravenwing. So you know that they're not associated with the college, and that it looks like they are potentially using this room, like squatting in it somehow. And so if you were to look around, you could find evidence of maybe even some bribes. So they shouldn't be here, is essentially what I'm getting at. So it's very strange that a Crucian house would have this sort of setup here. And so again, there's this object in the center on a sort of a round table in the center of this room. And as you enter it, it sort of gives this sort of thrumming sensation to all of you. The only other door in this room is a small one to what looks like another sub-room or storage closet.
I think Idaios would sort of, with a deliberate pace, sort of circle the table, and with the tip of their blade, lift the canvas or lift the covering off of the spherical object to reveal it, to look at it.
As you remove the canvas, it's hard to wrap your head around what you're seeing at first, because you've never seen this sort of thing disconnected from its wearer. This object is a dull, dark, matte black that almost pulls light into it. It's resting on a map of Grinn. The map has multitudinous notes and scrolls and pins, plans, schemes. At the center of this table is an Arcseer's helmet. Now, an Arcseer doesn't quickly let their helmet leave their body or possession. And so you know that the Arcseers use these helmets to identify timelines and cruxes in Dragongrin. And so as you kind of inspect the table more, you could see that it's not just a table, but that underneath it there are these strange Zarfin wirings and these different pieces. And it looks like this helmet is actually plugged in to this table. And there are all these scrawlings and things around it. And you maybe you jump as it sort of surges with energy for a moment.
Do we all see this?
Anyone in the room, if as Idaios pulls the canvas off, yeah, you would definitely see it. And there are specific things written on this sort of like war table of like, there are definitely things about House Grimwall, different Crucian houses. It's all in a cipher, but you can sort of glean what these are. It looks like they're using the Arcseer's helmet to foresee certain things and use it to their advantage.
And so I think just from the way Arcseers and particularly not the people themselves, but their helmets would be known as sort of a visage, sort of an icon of menace. The Arcseers don't often knock on your door to give you a cake. When the Arcseers come knocking, things are bad. And so if you were Rommel looking as this cloth is opened, it'd be that strange, almost prescient feeling you get when you know in your gut that something bad is about to happen. And as that cloth is pulled back, it's that feeling of, my stomach has turned to liquid. Just that flush of, oh no. This is bad. Well, boys, what do we have here?
As we sort of came into the room and you said there was like a little side closet looking door, while Adeos was headed towards the table, Gravik was going to go check to see, is this door locked? Is it barred? Does it look like someone is in there, or, is there a way that I could check that without making myself known? Or
Yeah, absolutely. So go ahead and give me, and Andramas, you can also give me a survival check as well. So Gravik, whatever check you think, depending on your approach, right? So are you like sneaking? Are you going to use insight, like investigation? What kind of method are you going to use to approach this door? And then that's how we'll decide the roll.
Well, I don't think stealth would be a good option for me. I'm wearing chainmail. So
Thunk, thunk.
clunk, yeah. So if I could, is there a way I could just sort of like listen or like observe the door, like either investigation or insight or something like that?
Yeah, I think either one, investigation or insight, is fine.
Okay, I'll use some insight to see if the door's been messed with recently. 14.
Yeah, so the door, you jiggle the handle, or maybe it's not locked. Are you attempting to open it if it isn't locked?
I would definitely have my hand like on my blade, on the hilt of my sword, and I would this is sort of happening similar time frame to what's going on with the canvas.
Yeah.
Sort of as that's the first thing my mind went to when we walked in the room, is there's another door there and we don't know what's behind it.
Sure.
So I would sort of crack the door to see if I heard anything, or there was any other presence there or anything. I'm just checking to make sure we're not going to get ambushed.
Yeah, absolutely. And so as the canvas is pulled back, and as the horror sinks into most of the pits of other stomachs, and light from inside that room reveals the first part of a staircase downward.
I would sort of open the door and see that, and then turn to like relay information, and that's when I notice the helmet sitting on the table, and sort of my words get caught in my mouth. I was like, "Hey, there's a stair." Oh, and then that's when the wave of sort of dread would hit me as well, and I'd sort of look and just, what do we do? Because at this point, I'm lost.
I love how Matt described it. It's like, I think it's that threat response, right? It's that primal fight, flight, or freeze. Seeing this Arcseer's helmet on the table.
Yeah. And as the door opens and you maybe hear something down the stairway, the Arcseer's helmet still sort of like thrumming, not fully on or charged. Let's take a quick break. Anyone who needs to refill their drink or use the restroom, please do so. And we'll be right back. I'm going to stick around here, though, for now and just hang out in the chat a bit. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. What's up, Barks? I know Matt was here. Plenty of people hanging out, and this is our first session of the ever-growing shadows of Grinn. Just little vignettes, little like one-shots of cool stuff happening. Very anthology series, but you might see things crop up that happen in this game in other games. But it might not. And everyone is going to have to do their own missions. So I love the idea that you have a character in Dragongrin and you can just show up to any of these games if you're available and just run that mission and level up. And so that's what we're going to be doing. I actually will take a quick break because I think right now I don't have to use the restroom, but I will. So I'll be right back. But Thrain, what Trivium song is stuck in your head? I'll be back.
Hey. Whew, intense session, eh?
It is. This is definitely a lot for what is now 11 in the morning for me.
It's 2 in the morning here, and I am wired. I am like, I had a cup of tea. I've been sipping on a Pepsi. I had a nap before this game, and now the game's gone and grabbed my attention. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get to sleep.
Yeah, I woke up about a little around 8 o'clock ish, and I picked this up last night. This bang to. I knew that I wouldn't have time for coffee this morning, so.
Jose's back. What's going on?
I'm sorry about that. I just really had to go.
No, same, man. Same.
No, man, I'm definitely loving the game
nice.
so far. Especially that helmet. It reminded me of Cerebro.
Oh, wow.
We're all back.
So glad that everybody's enjoying the game. Thank you so much. Thrain, Dying in Your Arms. Killer song. And thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying the game. I'm having a blast with it. So the door that reveals a staircase is now open. You have this Arxeer's helm on this table that seems to be charged up to some Zarfin mechanism that makes up the base of the table. And it looks like there were, as I say, there's like notes and schemy, like Pepe Silva, like kind of maps everywhere and things like that. That's a Always Sunny in Philadelphia reference. But yeah, I mean, you can either walk away now. What are you thinking? And I would say too, Romal, that your disguise person spell is probably full worn off now.
And so I imagine it's probably while we're looking at the helmet and no one's quite sure if I've been shocked so thoroughly that I've dropped the spell or if the time has just run out. And I'm starting to gather myself, and I think I might start looking these ciphers, these encrypted messages around here. Just ballpark, would it be feasible to copy?
Oh, sorry, it cut out. Would it be feasible to copy?
Would it be feasible to copy these down? Because I've got parchment and I have a pen.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you're able to trace the shapes or replicate them for sure. So whatever method you would use to correlate it with this map of Grinn that is sort of, strewn across this table, absolutely.
What I think I might do is I might take one piece of parchment and sort of lay it landscape. And rather than draw like the whole map of Grinn, because that is ridiculous, I would jot down landmarks. And so I'd like draw a big spire, and that'd be the spire of the Arxeers. And I might draw like a large plain and label it as Font of Vist. Like I draw like these sort of boulders and sort of this dusty wind and label it as the dust mouth, and sort of set up this loose sort of map so that I could like at least loosely figure out where everything went. Then on another piece of parchment, I would start scribbling, and I'd be leaned over, and it would just be like trying to go as quickly as I could.
That's perfect.
So I'd say to the others, oh, sorry.
Oh, no, sorry, go ahead.
I'd say to the others, I'm going to try to get these down, but I don't think we should touch that. I've heard stories, and more to the point, if we touch it, someone's going to know we touched it. And it's only a few steps between this open warfare between House Ravenwing and House Grimwall. So we leave that. And he looks at it with this twisted disdain. He almost spits the words. We leave that there. And we leave now. Well, once I've got this down. And he goes back to scribbling.
I was going to let you do... Oh, go ahead. Well, just real quick, I want to have Rommel, I want you to make 3 checks. They could be some sort of intelligence base. And if you have any abilities that might help you in this, or some sort of powers, I'm going to let you choose where these 3 rolls are applied. But you have to choose the 3 rolls and apply them to the accuracy of what you copy down, the amount of what you copy down, and then a third thing that I haven't thought of. So, like, I kind of want it to be this fun little mini game where you get to decide, do I want it to be really accurate, but I copy down less? Maybe 2 checks is enough.
I was going to suggest the third one could be, like, decrypting it, maybe, but yeah.
Perfect.
Or maybe just
no, that's
checks.
Great. Okay, perfect. Or the ability to, so something like that, like a decryptive, also, like maybe you can make some notes and things. So I'll let you choose. And so the lower the roll, the poorer your performance. So, and that could be, again, it could be investigation. It could be whatever you have that would work. And I'll let you do that while whoever was going to go goes next.
Put that in the sidebar.
Oh, beautiful.
I was gonna say before we cause a commotion, Andromeda's is gonna go towards the body that was guarding the door.
Mm-hmm.
First, he's gonna check the guy's vitals, make sure he's breathing still.
He is.
And then he would drag him in. He would drag him into the room, tie him up, but he would like to see if there's any way he can like calm him down, like maybe medicine or something. Make sure that he's not like mentally damaged or something.
Sure, yeah, and you can do that, and you can tell that. So this person is now unconscious, but they are not naturally unconscious. The vibes you're getting is that something is keeping this person asleep, but they are alive. They are breathing, and they don't seem to need any immediate help. So, you get the sense that whatever happened to their mind wasn't your fault, that you probably just trespassed on another thing that was in there.
Okay. Well, just in case, he would tie him up, and then he would put like a piece of cloth in his mouth, so that way when he wakes up, he doesn't start screaming and alert anybody. And he would close the door and lock it, so that way nobody can come in.
Very smart.
Can I try something? Or can I? If you'll allow this, Tim. here's my pitch, and I think this one might be, even for the rule of cool, maybe a stretch too far, but I'll leave it up to you. I chose for my Talisar culture the cultural focus of Champion of the Life Tree, which allows me to issue a duel. Like issue a challenge to duel against a creature within 30 feet, calling upon the immutable laws of the Fae and the Fae Mists. And if they accept, then we're both shrouded by the Fae Mists and transported to an ethereal demiplane to like duel, just us. So I'm wondering if I can do that, but to basically try and have a conversation with the mind of this person.
That's really cool. Absolutely.
Awesome. So I guess so it has to be like the creature must accept willingly and uncoerced. So I guess it's maybe a matter of like I can get them lucid enough to like blink.
Yeah.
And allow me in, you know?
So what I would do is I would say that Andromus is able to, probably using your similar, like, because you're working in concert and you're both Talisar, there would be an understanding of what was happening. And so Andromus, you're using your mental ability and you're able to sort of shield this person's mind from the darkness and kind of bring them awake. And then Adios, I would imagine you'd have to explain it to the person for them to willingly accept to duel you.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So I suppose it would be, it would be, there's a way, like I would explain that there is, I know we don't have much time, like they would know, he would know, obviously, that it's a brief, like, respite from whatever force affecting their mind. And so I'd say we do not have much time, and explain. Explain that that I can give them an opportunity to. I might even just say it simply, like I can help. I might be able to help you, but you have to trust me. Just something simple like that. And just like, please let me help you, and then just sort of, mentally extend that. It's more, in this case, more of like an invitation.
Sure.
And if they'll sort of accept, then I imagine we'd see these sort of tendrils of mist start sort of smoking up from the cracks between the stones on the floor, in this sort of snaking pattern around the two of us. And basically myself and this person, we can still be seen, like in this little patch of the ethereal plane, but so everyone else in the room can see us, but they can't interact with us. And so if like the ethereal version of this person sort of steps up, out from their physical body, which is sort of still there in its ghostly form. Idios is sort of standing there, expectantly waiting for them to sort of stand up, get their bearings as to what the hell's going on, and then sort of stand and face him and address him.
And I think that he would still not be in full control of his mind is the thing. So you can tell that it is being censored in a way, and that he's doing his best to try to, answer your questions. I think that they would want the help for sure. And so I think that they would have this, these breaks of like, and then they would like answer you, and then they would kind of become lucid again, what have you. And so what you'd be able to draw from this is they're saying, the oracle's in the basement. This thing is evil. It just should have never come here. I was part of the first crew.
And are you the last?
No, there are others.
In the basement?
Yes. And it's like trying to... it's like trying to speak to you. In the basement. There are others.
What's your name?
Savick.
I can end it, Savick.
Are you... And then they kind of just... They don't collapse, but they go, like, drunk-eyed. Like, just like...
And Adios is wondering whether it would be a mercy to to sort of put them out of the misery in this state.
The other thing too is that, like, it's not, I don't think, written, maybe it is, you tell me, but I think some sort of duel has to take place, right? Since you're invoking this sacred law, like,
it's
something has to happen.
Someone yields or dies. Yeah, exactly. So I kind of feel like I think Adios would see it as a mercy, but also it's part of this sort of sacred ritual. So
unless this, and please, if this is a yellow light for anyone, because this is a little dark, but I think that these two opposing voices would be both asking you to do it and begging you not to. But you don't know which one's which, but I would imagine you'd get the sense of, like, don't do it, please do it, like, like
yeah, that's a good idea, DJ. I think Adios feels like this has not been a fair physical duel, like, I don't think he wants to, because the ritual can end when one party yields. They don't have to necessarily die. So I think with this with Savick not really in the state to properly yield himself, I think Adios would like maybe knock him with the pommel to sort of force him to yield in that kind of sense.
Sure.
And then we both, like, all of the famous sort of, like, dissipate quite quickly, and we both reappear in the spots we were before it happened. So
that's perfect. And now this person is properly unconscious.
Yeah.
But still,
so you did help him.
Still living, still, hey, why do a murder when a good knockout will do? So yeah, that's, but I think that was actually really smart, Keel. That was really well done. I also am just thinking way back. Everyone has 1 point of inspiration from the descriptions. I only awarded them to Keel and Matt, but I forgot to award them to Jose and DJ. So yeah, I would imagine that they wouldn't know that information, Keel, unless you told them, because it all took place in that duel space.
Yeah, it says that they can see us, but it doesn't specify whether they can hear us. So I like that they maybe couldn't.
Yeah, I agree.
And so Adios would say, "This here is not the oracle," and gesture to the Arcseer helm on the table, and then say, "That awaits us down below, as well as the other survivors from the first crew, and I do not know what else."
And so I imagine this duel has taken like a little bit of time. Like, I don't know, Keel, do you think it's like it's longer than it seemed, or it's shorter than it seemed, or it's the same amount? Like, what do you think?
I was imagining it's kind of just real time, since you can see it happening. Yeah.
So I imagine it's taken a little while, and I maybe, scribbling the last little piece that I think I'm going to be able to get down in completion before I, like, waste just way too much time getting everything. And so I turn and I sort of rehoist myself up on my crutches, and I say, "Well then, as much as I don't like to, I think we have to go down there, and quickly."
Sounds good. Just be on alert.
And it might, like, if everyone's sort of still absorbing all this, I might sort of look to, I think Grovok maybe looks the meanest and the keenest of all of us. And so I might sort of point one crutch towards him and say, well, ladies first, I suppose.
And I would sort of pull the door open all the way. Like I've sort of been like peeking in and out this whole time, sort of just keeping an eye, making sure no one's, running up to us. I don't know if we have no idea if this thing that's been possessing this guy is like a hive mind and they are aware of our presence already or what. We have no idea. So I've been just sort of keeping an eye out. Nothing has come to the stairs yet. So I say, well, if everyone's ready, and then I sort of swing the door open and sort of reach behind me and pull I've been sort of just carrying this kind of small shield on my back, and I'm just kind of reach and loose it and pull it up to me and just keep my hand on my, the hilt. Is still in the scabbard, so I just keep my hand on the hilt and just start heading down the stairs. Keeping an eye out. What's the lighting like in the stairwell? Is it well lit or?
It's not. It's quite dark down there in the basement, and this is it's a physical basement was built, so there is definitely probably sconces with torches or like lanterns, things that you could light for sure. They're just not lit.
I kind of glance back and, anyone got a light? Just because I know I can't see in the dark.
I'm afraid the only light I've got to set the building on fire.
Same, I just have a torch.
Well, what I might do, if we want to make sure that everyone can see, so what I do, is I like to like flavor the little items I've got that are just like sort of left vague, and so find the chemistry major, my component pouch. I wanted to flavor as sort of various vials of acids and powders and things. And so if you'd allow it, Tim, would I be able to make some sort of arcana check maybe to mix a couple reagents to create maybe like a small smoldering pile to light Andromas's torch?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay. Let's go ahead. Ooh, that's a 22.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I will even say that, you could even, the reagent, it might not be heat, but it can be light. So you could even smear it on objects and things like that without it damaging them with such a great roll. So it's not necessarily actual fire, but you could like rub this all over the torch and it would act as though it was fire without the heat.
Right.
Or like a weapon or anything, you have probably enough to, maybe hook up everybody.
I imagine this is something, an old trick that a mentor back in my scavenging days, when I worked more closely with my Surga, when I used to go and scavenge for Arkans before I lost the leg and couldn't anymore. And it's an old trick, an old Drogus trick, for if you're ever without fire, if you're ever without light. Two simple components. I think it's a crushed and then made into a paste type of bark from I forget the name. The Fey place in Dragongrin.
Feygrave?
Feygrave. It's the bark from a tree in Faygrave that has been powdered and then made into a paste.
Nice.
And you smear that, and then you take just a little piece of powdered iron and sprinkle it, and it starts to let off this orange glow. Not orange in sort of the traditional fire sense, but it looks you know how you have overhead tube lights like halogen bulbs?
Yeah.
And yeah, it just looks really artificial. That's the kind of light we're emanating here. And I think I take a small bit of paste and maybe at the tip of is Grovak wielding a sword, did I hear?
Yes, but it's still sheathed. He hasn't pulled his sword yet.
So I imagine maybe I've got a whole bunch of this in my hand, and I'm sprinkling it in. I'm mixing it thoroughly, and I sort of nod to everyone. This will light the way. Not very long, but it should do.
I would sort of just kind of begrudgingly, like, I really don't want this stuff on my gear, but I would turn my shield, like, just, and I would like point, like, here, put it here. Like, I don't want it all over the place.
Yeah. A little dab will do you when it comes to Faygrave paste. It's
In the event of ingestion of Faygrave paste registered trademark, please contact your nearest poison control center immediately.
Registered trademark. Oh, wow. Hey, what's up, Corey?
Contingent of marrow knee breakers will be sent forthwith.
Yeah, right. Go to your local knee breaker station and turn yourself in. Yeah, so I think that it is emitting this sort of pale bluish light. Like you say, it's very artificial. Almost looks like a very like modern neon light, I would imagine. So it still gives you the ability to see, but in that pale sort of, bathing it in blue. So absolutely. And so now you're able to see, and you could see that the stairway, spirals down. It's not a very long stairway. You can't see around the corner because it does have, several stairs, a landing, and then several stairs in the other direction. So you can't see around the corner, of course.
I would just, now that I've got this little bit of light to kind of guide me down, I would just start heading down the stairs and sort of peeking around the corner and relaying information as I go. Sort of very militaristic. It may be slightly different than what the others are used to military wise because we're from different places, but you can still tell this is calculated and very methodic. Like, I'm not just rushing. I'm not, barreling down the stairs. I'm taking a step and I'm listening, and I'm taking a step and I'm looking around the corner and turning and making general military signals and trying to keep as quiet as possible and having everybody follow me down.
Yeah. And so as you enter, you could tell that this is a single room, but it looks as though it's not the only room. So there are doorways and things of that nature, but this is the main basement of this place you're in at the Prismacar. But you can see what look like either doorless corridors on either side of you or corridors with the doors open. There is quite a bit of blood, and there's a body on the floor, and then there's a large square object also covered by a canvas that you can see on the back wall. So as you round the corner, the room is square. A corridor to your right that seems like I say, the door's either open or there is no door. Corridor on your left. These are all man-made. This is a structure. At your feet, there's a body, and directly in front of you is a crate that's a few feet tall by several feet long, draped in some sort of canvas. And the reason why I specifically called it a crate is because you've been moving these things back and forth. You'd probably recognize the shape and size, a square, like, oh, okay.
I think Rommel, for maybe the first time today, is completely unsure of what to do, and would look to Grovok, who's led us down here, admittedly at Rommel's suggestion. But he's sort of become the leader of this little band for the time being. Rommel would just look to him and maybe say, "What now?"
Grovok would look to Andromas and be like, "Did you search for prints? Or there's plenty of blood and dust down here. Maybe there's some footprints or something leading off some way. Can you check for that?"
As he mentions that, Andromas is gonna get like on all fours and pretty much start like looking at the prints, and pretty much he would lick his finger to see if it's like the right one and try to find that one print from earlier.
Yeah, and they're all over the place. Whoever owned that boot or shoe or slipper has been just all throughout in those corridors, back, up, down again, up the stairs, down the stairs. Those footprints are everywhere.
Yeah, they're here, right? How big is this room?
It's probably a good 20 by 20. It's not huge, but it's not tiny. Maybe 30 by 30.
And nobody else is down here with us?
I don't know.
Can I check?
Yeah, I mean, you, in other words, you don't see any other people in the light. You definitely see the dead body on the floor. That's it. That's the only thing that's down here with you aside from the crate.
I was going to approach the body and sort of check to see, are they unconscious? Are we sure they're dead? How long have they been dead? What was the cause? I was sort of just checking and seeing
sure
what happened.
Yeah. So as you do check, you're able to see that they are in fact dead. You could pretty much tell by the way that they were, the way they had fallen was not in like a sleeping position. They look pretty contorted. You are a soldier and you know well enough what stab wounds look like. And any of you who have any sort of knowledge about Crucian would see that this was definitely someone bearing the house crest of House Ravenwing. And that they have been just stabbed multiple times in the chest, stomach, neck, just very like et tu brute, frenzy, sort of multiple stab wounds, and then just left there.
Is there any sort of papers or things that we could take that would give us any information about what's going on? Any things from their house or things from the artifacts left behind or anything?
Sure. I would say if you wanted to, you could take things from their pockets. They might have some parchment in there that might have some personal notes. They might have some sort of house trinket on their person somewhere, whether it's like a brooch or some sort of pin of of their house. And so yeah, as you kind of look through this, if you were to search the pockets inside, you would see some personal notes scrawled using that same cipher as up above. So you can kind of put together this maybe is the person who is writing those ciphers, or at least understands how to write them. So you wouldn't be able to tell exactly what they were, but you also would find some strange, like as you kind of look through the scroll, it goes from being what seems to be methodical to like by the middle or bottom, splotchy and sloppy and scribbles and just like whole patches of like black ink, just like scribbled and like the pages ripped.
I would, see this and I would definitely just turn and hand it to Rommel, but like, here, add this to your stack of papers to check later.
Of course.
And, I say we pick a hallway and keep going and just keep an eye out. Unless someone's brave enough to check that crate.
I was going to say, it seems to be what we're looking for. We seem to know who did it. If we can just get this crate out of here, I say that's job done.
There is one way to find out. Idael says as... So you said there was something covering the crate again? That was like a
good old canvas. And it's just kind of draped over it. Maybe some definitely wear and tear, dirt, that kind of stuff.
Second canvas reveal for the night. Idael pulls it off, and what the heck do we see?
So the crate is similar to the ones you've been seeing. And as many of them do, there's usually some sort of like arcane scrawling or label or something that matches the manifest. And if you were to take a look at the manifest, you would see that this does match the markings next to the thing labeled Oracle. But the crate is closed. Will everyone real quick give me a saving throw? And that saving throw is going to be against your wisdom or charisma. Whichever you want.
It's going to go ahead and be charisma.
I almost asked... Oh, good. If anyone gets lower than a 15, let me know. Oh, Gravik. Okay.
Ooh. Dirty 20 for wisdom.
I almost asked for a will save. That's how long it's been since I played 5th edition.
Are we caught flat-footed?
Oh, wait. Oh, God. Anyone who made a 14 or lower, you take a D12 psychic damage.
Yikes. For level 1, that is gotta hurt.
So I might ask you, Tim, what does that look like from the outside? What does it look like to see someone take that amount of psychic damage?
I think that it would probably look like sudden vertigo. and then feel like brain freeze that lasts way too long, maybe a piercing scream, and even a bit of retching as the body tries to reconcile the pain of what's happening in the mind, and then perhaps a feeling of sweeping despair or anxiety to accompany the physical pain.
Yeah, as Adea sort of pulls back this canvas, Gravik's just sort of looking around and making sure no one's coming. And when it happens, when he pulls that canvas back, you kind of hear a sort of a caught scream, and Gravik kind of takes a knee, and it's not like devastating in that he's out of it for long, but he was not expecting any damage because he didn't see anyone. He didn't see. He wasn't expecting anything, and he takes this damage and he starts to look to see if he's been hit by something, a bolt or an arrow or something, and he doesn't see it, and then the headache sort of just swells over his head, and he looks to Rommel for a second to be like, like, what was that? What was that, you? But he quickly realizes that they have no idea what's going on. They're looking at him like, what happened? And it's not a ton of damage, but it catches me off guard for a second.
With perhaps the first sign of tenderness or concern that you've seen from Rommel on this mission, he looks to Grovok sort of confusedly, again, those big bushy dwarven eyebrows, one raised, and he says, "You're right, lad. You look a mite green."
That was not pleasant. I'd be careful. It seemed like that happened when that canvas got moved. I don't know if I want to deal with this crate or not.
I was just going to say, Gravik, I think as you say that, you're so confused because while you're not forced to at all, it's your character's choice, you actually feel strongly compelled to open the crate. Even though your mouth just said that you don't want to mess with it, your mind is telling you no, maybe I do want to see what's in there. Yeah, I definitely want to see what's in there. Now, again, I'm not forcing you to do that. Your character is your character, but as your mouth says one thing, your brain wants another thing.
And I think that maybe someone would see me as I said that. I don't know if I want to mess with that or not. Maybe I take a step forward.
Yeah.
I'm getting closer just to look at it. I don't think I want to see what's in this or not. And I don't know if someone would try to stop me or not, but
yeah, Idaios is next to it because he just pulled the canvas off. Mm-hmm. So I think he would, as you take a step sort of towards it, he would take a step to sideways to sort of put himself between you and it, not in a threatening way or anything like that. Although I guess he is still holding his sword, but he'd have it down by his side, and just say, "We only needed to locate it, did we not?" And then I guess he sort of says that and then looks over to Rommel like, "We need not touch it," he sort of says questioningly.
Look, on the one hand... Oh, sorry, you go.
I said that Gravik would just sort of maybe shake his head a little, yeah, you're right. And he would sort of maybe take a step back at that point, just fighting off that weird urge to step forward and we just need to let Bath know where this is and sort of take a step back and sort of resume my watch on the corridors.
On the one hand, I'd like to go above and beyond for my own reasons to impress those back at home, but On the other hand, we used to have a saying when we were scavenging. Scavenge ye not for the bones of your friends. Bury ye not a corpse in search of arcane. No one dies on a routine scavenging mission. I say we leave.
Indeed. Death is for tomorrow.
Death is for tomorrow.
Andremus or Gravok, anything you want to do before you leave?
Well, definitely, death is for tomorrow, and he's probably in the hallway, blocking the entrance, and he will move aside so everybody can go through.
No, Gravik would take one more glance down each of the side corridors, just listening, checking for footsteps or mumblings or scrapings, and if he doesn't notice anything, would turn to head back up the stairwell.
Yeah, I think as Grovik is there sort of looking down the corridors, to Adios's mind sort of maybe hesitating and with maybe a bit of regret that he can't, that Grovik can't, explore further. Adios would just say, I fear the roots of this place run deeper than we can know, at least on this expedition. Come. And if you'd walk past and make your way up the stairs, Adios would take the rear.
I would head up first, same way I came down, shield ready, hand on the hilt, and just sort of, because who knows who came in that upper room while we were on our way down. So I'd keep an eye out on the way back up.
Yeah, and I think that the only thing that you would see when you came up, as you all re-entered this room, that was different, is that the person who was unconscious is now gone. And so, yeah, I mean, you have maybe an hour left. You would be able to, of your deadline of dawn. And I think that you'd be able to find Bath pretty easily. And whatever you want to explain, so I don't know what you would tell him, what you wouldn't tell him, but you definitely located the missing crate, and for sure at least prove with a reasonable enough doubt that it wasn't you and that there was something else going on there in the university. Is there anything else you would want to mention to Bath or ask him or tell him?
I've been thinking about this since we set off. And so I think after we explain what happened, and sort of to ask everyone else, do we tell Bath that this was House Ravenwing, or do we leave it as someone?
Yeah, I was going to defer to Rommel's sort of decision there in character as the one who's been liaising with Bath, but Meta, my thought would just be the one question he wants an answer to is, where'd the Oracle go? There it is, it's down there. All the rest is like information that's like leverage for House Grimwall, or perhaps even the Undying Light for those of us who are privy to that kind of stuff. An Arcseer helm and being able to utilize that would be massively instrumental for various purposes.
I would say that if we don't divulge any information other than the crates in the basement, when they do go to get the crate from the basement, are they going to find the things that we found? And if so, they're going to know that we know because we were there. So what does that mean for us? And I'm not saying yes or no. I'm just saying that's something we have to think about.
It's not like we've done anything illegal or like uncouth. They know that we know, but so what? We know. Of course we know. We were down there.
If anything, they might give us hush money. You know what I mean? Like, we don't tell anyone that this happened in our university, under our university's roof. Like, that will be terrible for our reputation. Like, we'll give House Grimwall, we'll name a wing after House Grimwall. Like, keep this hush.
The East Wing. No.
Yeah.
So maybe we can play it like this. Maybe it's Bath. So depending on what point in the timeline, so I'm not like trying to jump ahead to like this being over, but I would imagine that whatever ends up happening in this moment now, eventually I think the House Grimwall would get a missive with some sort of like, you know, Bath owes Grimwall a favor. Like, it's explicit that he owes a favor, but it is not explicit as to why. But through some questioning and some, you know, asking around with you, they'd probably figure out what was going on. You know, so like, I guess none of that matters in terms of how it happens, but like, Bath owes House Grimwall a favor on behalf of that wing of the Prismacar, very likely, under his purview and under his power level. So that could mean access to items maybe at some point, like, you know, maybe a borrowing of a thing or a researching of a thing or things like that.
Well, with that sorted, I think, you know, we just convey the details, and they can sort it out on their own. One thing I did want to say, and I think I should have to roll deception for this.
Okay.
I want to say, you know, I thought I should take inventory of everything while I was in there, just in case anything else went missing while we were gone. And funnily enough, everything was there, bar one jar of salted meat. Gone. Strange.
Absolutely. Yeah, go ahead and roll deception, and I'll do it versus his insight.
Oh, baby.
Somebody was hungry.
Can I use my point of inspiration?
You absolutely can.
That was only a 10. Okay, 17 total.
Okay. That one gets it. You would have been busted if you wouldn't have had that point of inspiration against his roll.
Whew.
But yeah, absolutely.
And now they think someone else nicked it. Oh dear.
That's so good. The perfect alibi.
That's fantastic. And if you know, as you leave, well, and if there's anything else anyone wants to do or say, let me know, and I'll kind of like wrap it up narratively. Is there anything else anyone wanted to do or say?
Well, Andromus would look at everybody, and I usually don't work with a lot of people, but it was a pleasure working with y'all. And then he would go to reach Adias and give him like a warrior shirt shake when they grab each other by their arm. And he would just say, "Till next time, brother."
Yeah, Dias would would return it meaningfully, wholeheartedly, and sort of with a tinge of, I fear this is not yet over.
Till next time. He would definitely give Rommel like a little salute. And then he would tell Nock and Grubbock and Nock, wash yourself. As in, take care of yourself.
And Gravik would look to Rommel and give him like sort of a look that, let me know what you figure out, talking about the paperwork, and like what, we'll keep in touch on that. And then he looks to the two Talasar and just sort of nods like, there's an understanding that I appreciate what we've done for each other, but let's keep it professional.
Some wounds run too deep to be healed in a night. Exactly.
Let's keep it professional. I love that. Yeah, and job well done. You are definitely one level up in terms of your trustworthiness to House Grimwall. So future endeavors might mean not unloading boats. And then as we cut back to the loading docks of the Prismacar, it's dark, it's night. And in another location, through one of the other doors that you never went through, down a hallway, one of the rooms, within that room, there's many crates and many covered in canvas. But as we scroll through and as we wind through these crates, we come upon a torchlit figure surrounded by 4 ragged-looking people. And they pull back the canvas, as is now a hat trick in this session. And the original members of the crew, the first crew, are gaunt. They look like they haven't been eating. They look like something has taken over their will. They stand more as creatures than people. And the sanest among them wears a Zarfin lab coat. And as the assistant, the young Zachiel Watt places his hand on the crate labeled Oracle, he says, "Soon, Master." And that's where we'll end it.
Oh my god.
That was awesome.
I don't know if I want to know what the hell this entity is. Like, this foe is beyond any of our... Run!
Oh, wow.
Man, we're going to have to level up, like, fast before we come back to this thing.
Right? I have to say, I'm highly impressed that that you resisted the temptation to look inside that crate. I thought for sure you were going to open that thing.
That thing was bad news. That thing was bad news.
Yeah. It was my logical machine brain being like, all we had to do was find where it is.
Nope, that's really smart. And at level 1, like, that's
And
great.
I think if Adeus hadn't stepped in front of me on the way to the crate, I probably would have opened it. If no one had tried to stop me, I probably would have opened it. But the fact that he noticed what was going on and sort of cut me off, I think that's what set me back in my own mind as to, okay, no, this is not good.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna like mind control him, because if you did that, I was ready to like root him in place.
Oh, nice. Very nice. Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't want to give away, because that's part of the fun of this too, is now like some of the pieces hanging out there is like, there's a crate. There is a favor owed. And so that might come up in other games. And so we got to put those in, in the Discord of just like, hey, here's what we found, because I'm going to kind of leave it to I'm going to try to make sure that all of these act as an anthology, that you don't have to see any of the other games or know about them. But if you wanted to go back and look, there would be connections that would be fun to see. And that'll just make it easier for everybody to be able to jump in and not have to learn what has happened in the campaign and just be like, yeah, this is my job right now is, it might not be unloading a ship. It might be good old caravan, guard the wagon, So, but yeah, thank you so much. I guess we'll close out if anyone would like to. I'll go ahead and go around. You can just pass if you want, or just say thank you, to the viewers, whatever you want to do. But let's start with Rommel Agnar, Mr. Matt.
That's me. This was a fantastic game. I've been quietly excited for Dragongrin for so long. And this session was nothing like I expected, in a good way. It caught me completely out of left field and was fantastic the whole way through. Everyone was great. Impressive trust in the players, letting us create what's in this shipment, what's slightly out of the ordinary, and then I feel kind of bad that it ended up with me getting a piece of Titan copper, but I'm also not just gonna not take the Titan copper.
Yeah. I mean, I'm finding more and more that when I do throw that trust to the players, it empowers them to feel like they are really a part of the story. And what's the worst that can happen? Now you have something that other people want. That is like plot juice. That's great. So I love it.
Everything was fantastic. I'm Matt. You know me from this game, and that's about it. I do nothing. There's nothing of me anywhere.
He actually, the entire Absolute Tabletop Evergrowing Shadows channel in the Discord is all him. The timekeeper, setting it up, the automation. So he is actually a Discord wizard behind the scenes. So that is definitely how you know him also if you're a part of that Discord.
I need to do a little bit of tinkering on that because I have it set to post the announcements for when it says House Grimwall, but not like Evergrowing Shadows of Grinn. So I'm thinking I'm going to put in some more keywords that it'll listen for.
That's my fault for not doing it right, but yeah, absolutely. I should have put in House Grimwall.
No, it's good. It's good. This has been fantastic. I cast one spell that entire game, and I don't even care. This was fantastic.
Thanks, man.
Yeah,
and I honestly felt like if it did go combat, it could go combat, but I didn't want to force that either, and just really wanted to give you all the agency to do whatever you wanted to do, and so yeah, I appreciate that, man. Andromus, Jose.
Hey everybody, Jose was playing Andromus. Yeah, I had a great time, even though we didn't fight. It was great. I loved the way you narrated things, and the fact that when he did his little duel thing with the guy, you had me using that telepathically to help him out. It was pretty good. It's most games that I play usually they're not that narrative, and I really like the improv. It was pretty good.
Awesome, man. Thank you. I'm glad you dig it, and yeah, to me.
Oh, and thank you for having me. I appreciate
absolutely,
it. I
dude.
To play.
Absolutely. And that's one of the reasons why I put that in the session 0 of hey, I'm a pretty narrative GM. So if you're crunchy, you got to really let me know up front, because I'll have to build a specific kind of thing and prep a certain way, because I'm not crunchy. I'm more just everyone contributing to an awesome story. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Jose. Gravik Ghostfire, our very own DJ.
Yeah, this has been great. It's really interesting that I generally play a lot of I like warlocks and rogues and very sort of deeper characters and stuff. And I thought, well, you know what? When you first posted about the Dragongrin stuff, I was like, I want to just be a good opportunity to just pick a fighter, just be a fighter, just be a just a combat guy. And it was really interesting that this had like, we had no combat, but I really got to lean into not only, my background being a bounty hunter, like it's not just always about going in for the kill or it's about the intrigue and playing the political side of things sometimes. And the interaction with Rommel and me and the professor and stuff was a really cool way to just utilize some of the skills that probably don't get used a whole lot. And I enjoyed this immensely. So
awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. And then, of course, our very own Keel.
Hey, this was so cool. It was my first time playing alongside all three of these gents, and they did not disappoint. It was great fun. It's always a pleasure playing in games that you run, Tim. I really love your GM style, the sort of communal and collaborative approach that you have. There's a lot of overlap in our GM styles, and I love that on the player side as well.
Nice.
And yeah, thanks for letting me get creative with this Champion of the Life Tree mystical duel ability that worked out really well. It was fun.
Yeah.
And I loved this. It was great. Thank you so much for having me. And is that right? This was the first session of the Evergrowing Shadows. Yeah.
It was.
So
yeah,
first of many, like you say, the anthology. So anyone who's watching, if you're not already in the Discord and put your hat in the ring and made a character to join one of the games that Tim puts interest posts out for, then do it, because this was awesome, and we can all be part of House Grimwall and have some fun together and weave threads of a story within Dragongrin, our own timeline, as it were. So
yeah,
I loved it. This is great. Thank you. I am Keel. I run, write, and play a lot of role-playing games. You can find me on runwriteplay.com. That's right, WRITE.
Yeah, and Keel is fantastic at, he's a game designer and everything, so check out Run, Write, Play. And as he mentioned, anyone can be a part of these games. There's an open invitation. You just have to fill out a session 0. It's a Google Doc. It's really easy. It's a Google form, actually. If you join the Absolute Tabletop Discord, you can find the Evergrowing Shadows of Grinn in there. And if you go into some of the pinned posts in like the main hall, and I think the announcement hall, will have the session 0 document. And then when I post interest, just say that you're able to play. And I'm trying to get multiple games going in multiple time zones just to make sure that it's, I'm a freelance writer now. I can make my own schedule, so I really want to take advantage of that. And so, yeah, I played D&D for 3 hours in the middle of the day. It's been a lifelong dream for many years. And so, so come, be a part. I didn't, and Kill, you did mention, yes, this is the first session. I purposely didn't number them because I want it to be like you can dive in anywhere, and it's just totally like anthological. But this is the inaugural session. And so what I'm going to do now is take this stuff and then like what happened. And then I'm going to see what kind of ripples, and maybe it'll be in one of the future sessions. Maybe it won't. Maybe if one of you plays in another session in the future, I'll pull something in. Maybe it'll be someone that you knew from the, Prismacar or what have you. But I really just want to have a blast with it and build our own Dragongrin together, like you say, Keel, our very own timeline. So yeah, this has been incredible, and I'm really appreciative. Thank you all for spending some time with us. Thank you for hanging out in the chat. I guess we'll do a Tabtarian toast. If you, I don't know if you all have anything. I still have a couple swigs of my energy drink. But may you mend the first break. May you kill the first snake. And may you conquer every crate you undertake. Slancha. Killed it.
Slancha.
Canvas.
Thank you all, and we will see you again in the ever-growing shadows of Grinn. All right.